Darin, I am so happy to have you here. Thanks for coming in.
It's an honor, Rich, really.
Before we get going, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Darin McBratney. I was born in Santa Barbara, California. Lived all over the Central Coast, from Santa Cruz, San Francisco, New Zealand for a couple years there, studying marine biology. Came back and lived in a Volkswagen van for a year and did 30-some states, ran out of money, became a lifeguard at Disney World, and halfway through there, came back to California, wore a three-piece suit, sold eyeglass frames in the Bay Area. Then I came into a whole nother business, and that kind of brought me down here after doing that for a while in Santa Cruz. I came here because I asked my grandfather when I was 17. He'd been over 100 countries, and I said, "Tell me where I'm going. Where's the three best countries?" And so he named New Zealand and Costa Rica. And I went to New Zealand, a little too cold. I still was wearing a wetsuit, right? So I came here on a surf trip in '88. I loved the country. I came here with Kim Pierce, who I was with for 12 years. I was the Esperanza soccer coach, and she was the star of that team. But anyway, so yeah, my grandfather, on his suggestion, brought me here. Then it was the surf. And then I drove here from San Francisco at one point, and I took 2 or 3 months and went out to the Mayan ruins. And then I came here, and I knew I would rather watch a sunset than a sunrise, so that meant the West Coast. And I started at the Panamanian border and worked my way up, going to every beach. I came to Playa Guiones on Christmas Eve, 1990, I think, something like that. And one other guy out surfing, right? And I was camping on the beach. There was little palapas there, and you could camp, and there was nobody here, right? And but for 10 days in a row, every single person I crossed paths with smiled and waved. And I even went and continued north and tried to question if there's anything else up there. And I came back to Nosara. So it was the people. It was the people.
Even
and
back then.
It still is the people. You know, I love everybody in this town. I might have a problem with a couple people, but I still love them because they're characters. And it's just, everything else is just a kind of a joke and fun to me. But I love every single person in this town, really.
So do you have any deep memories from that 1990-ish time period that you still think about like once or twice a week?
Yeah, well, that's back when Bobby Johnson was wrestling crocodiles topless at the Bocas Rio. My memories are, that whole crew. Everybody in town was a character. You know, you got legends like Chicky and Patty and Bobby Johnson. Jean Tallboy was a builder here. Judy Kinnear is who handed over her real estate business to me. And she was a character, foul-mouthed drinker, stewardess, or now you call them flight attendants.
Okay.
But her and Jan, who owned Gilded Iguana, were flight attendants and had some just stories. And so, it was all characters for sure. Things are, and gas station was a 55-gallon drum of gas at Clemente's. And it was funny because they had all these empty 55-gallon drums in their house, so they were a little bit out of it all the time. And they had this bird too that was also getting the fumes of the gas. Anyways, it was always entertaining going to the gas station. And you could go from Playa Guiones to Nosara and not pass a car or anybody. And that was quite common. There used to be a tree in the middle of the road too. But a little bit different. The bank used to come to town in a Land Cruiser. I think there's 2 guys and a woman, and they would set up a table, a chair, a typewriter, and a money box, and that was the bank. And they came here once a week, and this is how we did our business. There was no phones, right? Everybody had a CB radio. And, talking a little bit earlier about security and stuff. Well, it was quite effective when everybody's connected at the same moment on CB radio, like, hey, we have this suspicious car on this road. Man, it's like the whole community's on it. So that's a little bit of a difference between now and then. And then we had our phone and I think a fax machine. We had one fax machine downtown, and then the only phone was the Gilded Iguana, and you'd go there and your name would be on a board if your mom called you or something like that. And that's where all business and all social media was. It was at the bar, basically, waiting for your bank or waiting for to use the phone, you know. And
hey, where did the bank set up?
I remember the bank setting up at two places. Super La Paloma was one of them, and on the soccer field downtown Nosara was the other one. That was the bank.
So CB radio was the way you communicated. That was mainly, that was it.
That was it. And you could drop in on people's other conversations. So everybody knew everybody's business back then. There was very few of us here. I would say 30 gringos maybe at the most or something like that. Yeah.
Bobby and Bill one time told me some stories about a rumor wall.
Yeah.
Do you know what they're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
They said that's how like people would just go write something out of nowhere.
Yeah. And we call it the jungle vine. And it's funny how stories get twisted through people retelling them and everything. And something would happen that morning and you hear something completely different by the end of the day is kind of comic stuff, you know?
If you had to go back in time and relive just a couple moments from those early days, what would they be?
Well, I had this incredible dog that rode on the roof of my car or whatever. And I just had me and my friend Rasmo and Italian Mario, you know, we were the first ones to get Tico's surfing here. And I think, you know, riding around and having fun with the boys and surfing in those old days. And we'd go do art and build houses or whatever, but always had the music going and fun things happening, you know, and I miss that. Yeah. But we still do it today. It's just a little different.
So I don't even know where to begin. So when you got here, tell us a little bit about what commerce was like, because you didn't have that many hotels. You didn't have that many restaurants. Like, what was it like?
Well, one of the things that's different is anybody who had a big mansion or whatever, they'd beg you to house sit there. And now you can't. I mean, it's like $5,000 a week to rental or whatever. But back then it was like, can you please watch my house? You know, I'm leaving back then. And so we always had friends at these nice houses. Therefore, we had these fun parties all over town. But that's a little bit of the difference there. And you know, we had the ferry we didn't have a bridge too. And that was fine in the beginning when it was no wait, and then it got to be like 2 or 3 hours wait. So I'm glad there's a bridge now, but even though that's closing in a couple months. But a lot of things different. I think our roads were probably better then than they are now, to tell you the truth. So that's kind of fun.
I've heard that from a couple people. They say the roads are actually better then than they are now.
Yeah, I would say so.
I guess, well, let's stay off the road topic for just a couple minutes and let's go back I want to go back in time. So in the early 90s, what was the lineup like as far as crowds and what type of people were surfing?
Well, let's talk about the first person to surf Nosara, and he still lives in this town. His name is Jerry, and he used to own the original hardware. He lives by the Santa Marta Rasta Bridge. Me and him used to live on the same street in the country above Santa Barbara, right across the street from each other, 25 years apart. Neighbors, again, apart, but he came here and the road used to only go to Garza, and he had a Volkswagen van. I think he drove down here, but he walked from Garza to Playa Guiones. And as far as my knowledge goes, that's the first person that surfed Guiones. And when I got here, Manos, he was like a longboard champion from Florida, whatever. And to Manos, like one other person out there is a crowd, right? Mm-hmm. So I was the crowd guy, and I was the guy who got the Tico surfing. So, yeah. Anyways, but respect. So there was only two of us surfing. Me and Rasmo would be like a crowd out there. We were probably definitely the first people to surf Olga's. I remember that. That was it, you know, and there wasn't, it wasn't a community like there was now. This was your wandering surfer, wanderlust person. And the Yoga Institute was here when I came here. Robin Williams built that, right before I got here. And that's what kept also some characters in this town, like Woody Harrelson, got to be good friends with him. And there's some funny stories about that, but that Yoga Institute brought in a bunch of people, and I used to make fun of yoga people, and here I am with the Costa Rica Yoga Spa, so that's kind of funny, isn't it?
It's funny how that goes.
Yeah.
As soon as you say never, it's almost like you just made whatever it is you said that you weren't going to do. It's like you almost guaranteed that you're going to have to face it or do it. Everyone who says they're never going to get married or they're never going to have kids or they never do this,
Right. You never know.
The yoga culture, that got started early to mid 90s, right?
Yeah. Well, even like every time that, so I started the real estate business in 91, I believe. And every time they had a yoga teacher training, which was every month, I'd say one or two people would be buying houses or land or whatever. So that's kind of how the yoga culture started was with students going there. And then that got big, and look where we are now. I think we're the yoga surf capital of Central and South America, which is pretty cool. In the Mecca to have on my list of healers in this town too. I have a list of 32 healers that live in this dirt road little town that are spectacular. So I think that's kind of cool. But no, getting back, like people, when they always meet me, they always seem to smile and laugh and like, oh, I heard about you. And you always wonder what they're talking about. I heard this story the other day, like, oh, I heard you used to dance on tables. Well, I don't remember ever dancing on tables. I remember doing burnouts on my motorcycle in the middle of the Tropicana dance floor. I remember riding through town naked on a couple full moons, and everybody knows what's going on after that. But I don't remember dancing on any tables. So you always get these people that are like, what are they saying about me? Whatever.
If you had to come up with your top 3 or 5 things that people hear or say or think about you, what are those classic stories?
I don't even know if I really want to get into that, Rich. Let's keep this PG.
Yeah, we might have some. Yeah,
let's keep this PG, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, there's been some funny moments and funny situations, let's just say, that are completely Wild West stuff, And we didn't, I moved to this town too. Yes, the people were great, but it was the freedom, man. Like these cops would be having drinks with us and everything. It wasn't like there was law here. You were the law. And I think that was pretty cool. I kind of like that Wild West style. And it's like, I still wouldn't go to the police for problems. I would solve it myself. But I'm glad they're here,
I got you. Well, let's talk about security while we brought that up. Take me back in time. What was it like? I'd like to hear some of your insights.
Well, I think with our CB radios, we were pretty on it. There was a couple times of overreaction when people were actually are there at someone's house for a reason and stuff, and this led to some problems on that, some overreaction. But I to this day, Rich, have not locked my house. I haven't, and I lost a surfboard like 7 years ago, and I got it back in 45 minutes. I'm friends with everybody in town. If I'm missing something, I'm gonna find out who did it or whatever. And that's a little bit of an advantage I have from being here for so long. Is like, I know who to go talk to, and I know how to track these things down. And I've been responsible for removing a couple people from town, and that's okay. That's what you do, right? I mean, you don't want to see these people again that steal from you. So, I think the difference is that we had to take care of these problems on our own, whatever that may be. And there was a couple interesting meetings to come out of that. How do we deal with this? And some orthodox ways and some unorthodox ways came up, but it's always been a community thing, and it's just a little different now. I would think. So.
I got you. So when did the road connect from Garza on into town, and it kind of formalized and turned into more of a tourist type town?
It was connected when I got here, so I don't think it had been connected for long. And the bridge in Santa Marta had just gotten built too, so I could get out to where I am. But I remember talking to hear people talking about riding their horses for 2 days to get to Nicoya for doctors or anything like that. That was quite common. But there was hardly any tourists or anybody here. And what I always thought was interesting too, and I kept track of in my real estate office on this map of the world, where people came from and how they ended up in Nosara.
That's interesting.
And I would have people getting flat tires here that ended up staying here, people throwing darts at the map, actually, and people from all over, which was really cool. And I had a dinner 2 years ago up at my place, and it was like October, nothing going on. So I just had this dinner, invited 25 people, and like 22 people showed up. And then it was somebody else who recognized that we were from all different countries. And like, where do you get that? Besides the United Nations, like you get that here, and it makes for stimulating conversation and I don't know. I love it. I love that diversity in people and where they're from and backgrounds and yeah. And I'm a world traveler. I have a motorcycle that I move from continent to continent, and I explore. And I've been looking for a place that's better than Nosara for 30 years, and I haven't found it. I gave up on finding another place. I'm here. I'm building my last permanent house this is my home base. I'm steeped in the community. I want what's best for here. And that's why we talked about these, community centers and what we could do. And there's a lot of cool ideas people have out here. And I think I think this is the best place I can possibly think of to live, tell you the truth.
You've went from your grandfather. It seems like he set that in you that you're going to go to a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And your background, just when we started this conversation, you just rattled off here all over the place. You still travel a whole lot right now. And you just said you've been looking for someplace better than Nosara. You haven't found it yet. But I'm kind of wondering, what's like places 2, 3, 4 on your list that you really like that still have like a place in your heart that you want to go back to? Well,
we'll talk about just Costa Rica for one. I love the Pavones area down there, and there's a wave I don't even want to mention that's not Pavones, but for me it's my favorite wave anywhere else in the world, and so I like it down in that area. I like up the volcano area too. It's just beautiful. This country has a lot to offer. Other places, I don't know, Mexico has always been a neat place for me to go to, but I just came last summer. I keep my motorcycle right now. It's in Czech Republic, and it's been based out of there for 5 years. And I just got back from the Balkans, and I fell in love with Bosnia and Herzegovina and the pyramids there in Visoko and that little town. And I'm going to have a connection with there. We're actually doing. I developed this thing called the Global Nurture Project, which I think you know about, where we diagnose and help people to heal, and that is going to be implemented at this healing center there. So I'll have a connection with Bosnia and Sarajevo right now. So it's weird, right?
Never would have expected.
Yeah, I know.
I guess we'll stick to the chronological format for just a minute. So we get to the mid 90s, late 90s. Are you like, hey, this Nosara place is going to pop? It's going from these super, super interesting character type peoples, and it wasn't very family friendly, is my understanding, in the early days. Whereas right now it's extremely family friendly. There
was no families here. It wasn't really family. Yeah, absolutely. And there was 20 guys for every girl when you go out, whatever. I think it's just the opposite now, right? Pretty much. So very different surfer kind of crowd. Very, very different than it is now. I like the health mecca that it's become.
I'm kind of marching towards that because you've had a couple personal, and I don't know how much you want to go in depth on this podcast, but could you share your story of how you got so into healing? Because it's really interesting for this rigid, tough character, to now turn into healing. You talk about it all the time. It's your passion, it seems like, and that's where you're going with the rest of your life.
Yeah,
from what I
feel like my calling has always been to make people smile or whatever. Then it's for me right now. It's healing, and my specialty is ailments. Right. So in 2005, getting back to your question in the 90s, how I felt too. I could not foresee what's happening right now. I did not. Otherwise, I would have bought a lot of more beachfront lots for $15,000 or $10,000 when I first came here. Right. Unbelievable what's going on. But anyways, so I had my real estate company, quite successul and very interesting stuff. And I used to know every single owner to every single property, probably within a 20-mile radius. And I really did. And I was very good at people telling me what they wanted. And I could connect them with like 5 properties, which they buy one. So I was very good at matching people with their dreams, so to speak. And I found enjoyment and pleasure in that for sure. Anyway, and all the guys that used to work for me kind of all work, they're all still in real estate, right? But in 2005, I just got married to the most wonderful person I've ever met in my life, Zoe. And 30 days after we got married, I went surfing and I started to feel weird. I couldn't do numbers. I used to be very good at numbers, and I had brain fog. Then I had light sensitivity. Went to every doctor in this town, every doctor in San Jose, but I started running into people from Nosara and Garza and Oceanal at these hospital doctor's appointments, like, what's wrong with you? And they had the same thing. So come to find out, there's like over 33 of us that had this weird illness, right? And nobody could diagnose. I did a spinal taps, MRI, every test you could think of. And I'm a bit of an anarchist, don't believe in insurance. So this cost me everything.
Everything you worked at through the 90s,
everything,
getting positioned.
Everything. I went to 5 countries, and 2 years I bounced around the best facilities and people I could find, and got nowhere. And then at this point, 5 of us had died, right? And I was dying. I was ending up in emergency rooms and couldn't breathe, this and that. It was horrible. It cost me my marriage too, but she didn't sign up to be a nurse for 2 years. And so I moved her back to Reno with my stepdaughter. And I'm glad I did, because when I flew from Reno to San Francisco, I had to call 911 from the airport because I didn't know who I was or where I was going. And I ended up at Stanford Medical. Got out of there and went down to my folks' place in Central Coast, and I just was depressed. I was like, I'm gonna just waiting to die, basically. And my friend said, you got to go see this doctor. She cured my friend of cancer, and she's really something special. And he got her on the phone and got me this appointment. So I went an hour south and went to this very unpretentious office. And this woman diagnosed me with ciguatera, red tide toxins in 5 or 10 minutes of me being in her office. And just to prove her right, I went back up to Stanford Medical. And yes, she was right. The test came out. It's not such an easy thing to diagnose, obviously, but I just was amazed at how easy that was. So I worked with this naturopathic doctor for 8 months on my cure, because I looked in Wikipedia, so there's no cure, and anyways, so I didn't believe that. I think there's a cure for everything. So she's just not just a naturopathic doctor and a chiropractor and a herbalist. She's a medical intuitive, on par with Edgar Cayce. And so I developed this system called the Global Nurture Project, and we look at somebody. The word holistic comes from Edgar Cayce. It means we're looking at your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, everything about you. So I get these readings. I get people's pictures. They send me their recent pictures showing their eyes, and they fill out an intake form. And I get these amazing readings about your chi level, your most stressed organ, and everything about your environment, nutrients. The list goes on and on and on. And I've done 2,000 plus of these now, and they're completely accurate. And I think I'm onto something. And I kind of want to change the paradigm. I'm not saying let's lose Western allopathic medicine. I'm saying let's integrate a little bit more. And so it's been a very amazing ride. And I have different tools in my toolbox to also facilitate my retreats. But my retreats include acupuncture and just a lot of body work, we have these amazing healers in town, and I work with these other medicines as well that we can discuss at some other time. But I'm love what I do. I love seeing people's transformation from sickness to health, and I have my favorite ailments like arthritis and Alzheimer's, and give me someone with MS, and I'll change the way they're feeling about that. And anybody's chi level who's high enough, we can heal. But if their chi level's too low, then they're too far. And I don't like being unsuccessful. So I like people that still have that drive to get better and everything, and they haven't given up yet, so to speak. Right?
So if I could make sure I understand it, what you're basically saying is if someone still has the kick in them and they're still like pushing forward, you think you can get to them. But if they've kind of tuned out, they've got to want it, and they also have to trust this process, because the process isn't so normal, right? We're talking about kind of I don't like to use the word psychic, but that's who I work with. But they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing, and they give me insight that no doctor or no test can give from a medical standpoint. But that's what I do, and I everybody that gets one of these readings was like, my God, how does this person know this? You know.
And that's part of the fun part of it. And I love what I do. I wouldn't change my job for the world. And I like working with Erzvati Elena, my friend from Russia, who I was with for 2.5 years. She's coming back. We're working together. I love what I do.
Is it safe to say your sickness transitioned you out of real estate and into what you really want to do?
Yes. Yes.
No, you didn't plan it that way, obviously.
No, that was a deep teacher. That was the best teacher of my life for 2 years. That suffering, I think that any good healer probably should go through a little bit of darkness before they're showing the light, right? So that was a very beneficial thing for me. And my downtime, I didn't just waste it away, man. Me and Zach Parker, he used to live here for 8 years. He worked at Marlin Bills and Blue Dogs and different places. We wrote a screenplay in 2008 called Expats. And it wasn't difficult to write at all because every single character in there was a character from this town. Like Boris, the Russian gangster, and Mark the welder. I mean, these are some classic characters that you can write about. And I used to write these jokes down too. I would hear at the bar or whatever too. So I had this whole list to add into the screenplay. So it's hilarious.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Man, what about, geez, I never even thought of that. That's a great idea. You have all the characters in the whole thing right here.
It wasn't difficult to write this thing at all. Like it just was writing true stories that I actually heard and witnessed myself, basically.
So you mentioned earlier that someone from up in the Santa Cruz area, you guys reconnected here. Did you both come down here together, or did you just happen to land here? This
is one of my partners, Rasmo, you're probably talking about, that was one of my partners that I worked with up there that came down here too. And we used to switch off like 45 days. He would be here in 45 days. And we just snowboard and do our work up there. And then, down here was like a little bit of building, a little bit of this,
I got you. And just chip away at it.
I'm also that one guy that built I spent a lot of money and had a crew of 14 people building probably the largest rancho in this country in 1998. I was preparing for this New Year's party for 2000. And then, so I built this 80,000 gallon pool and all this stuff, and the most beautiful rancho you'd ever see. And then, I had the party, and the next day I burned it to the ground and got a John Fraser's D6 and mowed it to the ground. And then, a lot of people think I'm strange for doing that stuff, but if you go to Burning Man, you'll understand that.
I got you.
It's just a lifestyle, or just making art and having fun with fire.
So you seem to kind of do what you want. You're not somebody who has lived their life in one spot, doing one thing, saying, maybe I should have done this. It seems like it's obvious. You're the complete opposite. What advice would you give to someone who's listening to this, who's been working the same job and in that same kind of rut? You're so polar opposite to most normal, quote unquote, people who are living their lives. Like, what would you say to them?
Well, I think it's 100% important to live your passion and love what you do. I think that's everything. If you don't do that, then you need to switch it up. And I get a lot of people that come to my retreats that quit their jobs. If they're in a cubicle on a computer all day, I don't think they're going to see that that's really the way to live. A lot of people have become health coaches or this and that, but no, I think it's important to live your passion and try not to live with so much authority above your head, right? I mean, that was my biggest thing. I never wanted to do the 9-to-5 thing, and I didn't buy into those taxes and all that weird stuff. Yeah.
But you hear that, like, live your passion, do your passion. But my question was always how. How do you get started?
Just by doing it. Just do. I think that if anybody has like they call it blind faith or whatever, but I don't call it blind faith. I just call it faith, and watch what the universe does when it has your back.
So you're saying take the leap, jump off the diving board,
take it but believe with every cell in your body and remove all doubt.
How do you do that if you like, that might sound nice to someone, but how do you actually do it if you have the doubt? You don't want to have the doubt, but you do.
You can't. Doubt is like worry, and that's like praying for something you don't want. These are just old formulas. That the book, The Secret. Well, that book, The Secret, stole their ideas from this guy back in the 30s called Napoleon Hill that wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich, and he sold 30 million copies or something like that. That guy's full of knowledge, and he also believes for laughing for a minute every day. So, we did this the other day in the sweat lodge. Like, let's all laugh. But no, I think he has a lot of good points. And for me, a manifestation of anything is just believing 100%, removing all doubt, and just go. And the universe should have your back, if I'm not mistaken. but lately too, though, I've been like kind of thinking about all these projects and everything, and just lately I finally got off my butt and started doing things, and then it's all happening. But before I was just kind of sitting behind my desk, like figuring things out. But once I got out of my desk and out into the field of where this stuff's going to happen, that's when all the magic started happening. So,
interesting.
Yeah, and it's not like you need money. Even when I was finishing my hotel, that I invested with my parents on that, right? But I was short like $16,000. And anyways, my secretary, Ashley White, comes in and she's like, these guys are going to leave by Friday. This project's not getting done. We need 60 grand. What are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to get that money. I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I went into my office and instead of just, breaking down or whatever, I just was like, I'm doing this. Just give me a message. My phone rings and it's my lawyer that reminded me of this deal that I gave up $35,000 commission to have exclusive rights, and they were going with another company. So I called this guy. And I said, well, basically you owe me 300 grand. And he goes, well, how can we settle this? I said, well, 65 grand by Friday. And that was the finishing of my hotel. So it works. It works for me. I'm just saying that if everybody just, without doubt and everything, I think that the universe has us.
Well, so if people don't believe kind of in the hocus pocus thing, the interesting thing about you is you've lived it. And you have personal experience. It's just like a religious conversion for someone.
It's hard for some people to grasp this. People call me every day and they're like, okay, what's your screening process? And I tell them, and if it's not right for them, then it's not right for them. But if it's like, wow, once they get the reading, and then it's like, hey, wow, this is amazing because it's your optimal health blueprint, So, but it helps when people know who Edgar Casey was, because that's what it's based on. Basically, he did 14,000 readings that are documented, 9,000 of which are on health. And they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing. And the ones I do are absolutely amazing. We just saved a girl's life in this town. And it's the only time that one of my intuitives have recommended antibiotics, something that's Western medicine. And this gal needed that, or she would have been dead in 7 days. So I feel really good about that.
I bet.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's pretty heavy. So bouncing back over to Nosara through the years. So around 2005, that's when your sickness, or just after that. So you processed
so 2007, I processed. Then I spent those rest of the time studying everything that wasn't Western medicine, from acupuncture to everything, to frequency, to everything that wasn't Western medicine, because it failed me on a scale that was very large. And I still have a bit of a disdain for Western medicine and whatnot. I got put on, antidepressants for being very sick, and just told to go to the Caribbean. I did all these things, I didn't know any better, but I know better now.
Very interesting.
I'm trying to change the paradigm of the way people think about, it's a very non-invasive way to find out what's going on with you, and it works. So,
and it's garnering momentum.
Yes. We're expanding. I'm training people, and now I got a Global Nurture Project in Italy and stuff. So it's branching out, and this is what I wanted to do. I don't want to hold a patent on this thing that I designed or developed or whatever. It should get out there. And I'm building a new whole place right now that's going to be a model for addiction. I have a whole new approach. I don't believe in rehab centers the way they're set up, but the way that I've designed this one, I think it's going to be amazing for people. But again, getting back to I do psycho-spiritual retreats, but my passion is helping people with their illnesses. Lyme's disease. Give me someone with Lyme's disease, or someone who's with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, by the way, don't exist in my book. Those are two things I got diagnosed with that don't, that's a doctor that doesn't know what's really wrong with you. And anyway, so give me anybody with chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia, and we'll get them better. Give me someone with AIDS too, and I'll completely take away their symptoms. Anybody that is not feeling up to par, we'll get them there. In the shortest amount of time, you can raise your chi level the highest amount than any other retreat. I'm also doing a specialized retreat, just like for lupus, for arthritis, for cancer, whatever, and just specializing on these one treats because they're out there, and these people are going to do yoga and having a little juice, and they're probably feeling better, but no real healing's taking place.
Right.
So let's go a little deeper with that. So that's what I'm doing too, and I'm working with some amazing people, like amazing.
So it sounds like you're covering the spectrum from disease to addiction down to...
Why not? We got 70% of Americans are on some type of pharmaceutical
Well, that's
drug,
what I was about to say. It seems like I've got a couple beefs out there. The private prison system is probably at the top of my list. The pharmaceutical gig, it seems like we constantly just send people to a pill.
Yeah.
Like constantly.
Yeah.
And the way to combat that, what you're saying, is to take a look under the covers behind what you're diving into.
Yeah. And these people that are depressed or have anxiety, it's usually something they're eating that they don't know is affecting everything. 80% of our digestive system is our immune system, and everything we put in our body is affecting us. So is that pizza with that glyphosate making you depressed or anxious or something? And it comes up all the time that how food affects people. Like, first of all, change your diet, let's get there. But diet, and not one doctor in 2 years asked me what I was eating. Yeah, then to come to find out their curriculum at med school is less than 3%. Is like some people spend 6 hours on nutrition in med school. And this is, to me, it's like hypocrisy said, let food be thy medicine and let thy medicine be food. That's how I feel. That's 100% how I feel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are really good points.
Yeah, they are good points. They should be brought up when you go, like, what if I was eating cardboard for a year? Maybe that was my problem. But
what would you say are the top 5 negative things that people are eating and drinking every day?
Well, anything with chlorine in it, anything with fluoride in it, is not so good. GMOs, man, like all you have to do is look at some hamsters that have been in some tests and and I got a good friend in high school that's working for some company that's spreading the GMO love all over, and he's indoctrinated. He really thinks he's helping the planet feed its overpopulation problem, which is it's indoctrination. It's a myth. So I don't buy into that, and I think GMOs are completely damaging. So that's why I have my greenhouse, and I'm into organic food. I'm not going to say I'm the perfect model for health either. I'm trying to. We're all a work in progress, right, Rich? But baby steps, right? So, anyways, the food that you eat, it's important. It's important. And what supplements, like usually people go into a health food store and like, I think I need some vitamin D or some magnesium. It's a crapshoot. But if you do the Global Nurture Project, it's going to say right down to the amount of what you need, like 300 milligrams of magnesium. A lot of people are magnesium deficient and vitamin D deficient. And these can cause depression and other things too. So, you don't need a blood test or whatever to do this. And as weird as that sounds to some people, just won't ever get it. And then this isn't for you. But if you want to explore some new things, and if you got a reading on yourself, you would be amazed. And a lot of people don't know what's wrong with them, including like I have working with one person right now that thinks they have that. I was like, let's do this. And let's find out what's really going on. And anyways, so
if somebody wanted to get the reading that you keep referencing, how would they do that?
I'm building a new website called the Global. It's called ibogotherapy.com. But if you go to Costa Rica Yoga Spa and go to Iboga Therapy, you can read all about what we do. There's an intake form there, and then you just send that intake form in a picture, and that gets you a file, an active file. And then we call you and talk to you about your intake form before we send you to the one of 3 intuitives that I work with. I work with one out of Switzerland and one out of Atlanta, Georgia, and one out in California. And all amazing, so amazing that one had never been here before. And my friend Elena lost her passport, looked for it for 2 days everywhere. And she's like, I'm just going to go to the French embassy in San Jose. I said, no. I called her up and she told me exactly where that passport was and why it was there. She forgot about it and she tucked it and she's like, no, I've looked there already twice. I said, no, it's in the back. This woman had never been to my house and certainly didn't know about the cubby hole in the bodega in the back either. So, and another thing that happened too was I had a person go into anaphylactic shock from eating almonds in a cookie at my place. And I took him down to the office. It was like fiesta's going on. I couldn't get a hold of any of the doctors. And so I called her and she said, put him on the phone. And she did. And I watched this allergic reaction disappear in 5 minutes. And he was amazed. Now he got one for his mother and for his grand. So he got Global Nurture Project readings for all his whole family. But, it's some interesting stuff we're talking about. It has to do with quantum physics and all this stuff too, right? And metaphysics and stuff. And on the bigger scheme of things, how we're all connected. You know how when you're thinking about somebody, then they're going to call you maybe? That's the real deal. That's what we're talking about here, so to speak. So
I got you. So what some would deem magical thinking or this magical world has become your permanent existence. Like this
every day I deal with supernatural medicines and I deal with supernatural people. I feel like I think we all have this ability to be psychic. We just don't exercise it. Some people have this more of a gift, and I just happen to, and after I got diagnosed by my gal, I interviewed probably 100 people and had them do a reading on me. And then I looked at which ones were the best and who could really do this. And I picked out 3 of the most incredible people on this planet that I feel are on par with Edgar Cayce. So I think it makes my job fun. It's very interesting what comes up too. And some people like, wow, I had no idea that was affecting my health, or I had no idea that this is what I was supposed to do. But if you just stick to this optimal health blueprint, that's you're going to be feeling very good.
So what about the person who's addicted to the pills or addicted to a substance or addicted to this? How do they get through that to get to the optimal health?
Well, I'll start by saying that I don't like addiction. When I do addiction, it's for a friend of a friend or family or this and that. I really don't, on my website, it says I don't do addiction, but, the fact is that I'm very good at it. I have a kind of a different method approach to it. I kind of, microdose them onto some other plant medicine while they're going off of their, Western medicine. It's a very dangerous and cautious road to approach, but with this reading and with my experience alone, I'm very good at it. And I've designed this model of an addiction center just to show people, but I don't really want to do that there. Like I'll do maybe one a year, 3-week maybe program or whatever. That's very different than any rehab center ever built. But I want to use that as a model so people can come see and they can build their own and do the same model. That's my idea.
I got you. So you want to build the template.
Yes,
but you don't want to do
exactly on a smaller scale. And then, have and then people go get your 5-10 acres and do it yourself somewhere else.
I got you.
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the people come into Nosara, I guess all over the place. Plant-based medicine is getting far more, dare I say, accepted. Or mainstream or whatever the term I'm trying to use, but it's not the hocus pocus of even just 10 years ago. People are starting to get attuned to, hey, maybe there's something there. Maybe I should look into that.
I think there's a huge wake up. I just did, I love doing, naturopathic doctors, of course, is my ultimate, because I think that's their pinnacle of their career is doing a retreat with me. But I just had 6 MDs here and they have a big company and they go out and talk to all the other MDs, a total of 150,000 a year between their 20-person company.
Jeez.
They're speakers, right? And I said, what's going on out there in the now world of medical doctors? And he said they're waking up to the fact that allopathic medicine is not the only answer for some people, and they're very curious about what else is out there. So there's a wake up thing going on, right? And I think it's overdue and it's time. And like I said, I'm not bashing Western medicine. If I needed stitches or a broken bone, heck, that's the first thing I'd go do, right? But I think that there's other ways to go about healing and stuff. And I'm definitely against any Western medicine for sure. I think it's just putting a Band-Aid on some things. It's not really curing the problem. And a lot of these problems sometimes are emotional stuff and even spiritual. won't get so weird on this interview, but I've had some very interesting cases for sure.
We'll talk more about that later. So, jumping back into you and here, what do you think about I call it the new Nosara visitor, because the people coming today in 2019 is very different than 99 or even 09 for that matter. It's completely changed. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, one thing that happened that was interesting the other day, like I told you, I used to be able to drive from Gaones to the town of Nosara and not pass a vehicle or pass one person. And 3 days ago at 5 o'clock, I was at the gas station getting gas, and there was a traffic jam. I mean, like all the construction work, I was looking at like 200 people in my whole radius there, and I was just, whoa. But you know what, though? Everybody was cool. You know, I didn't see anybody arguing or fighting. And I was like, okay, I can handle this if it's still like a good vibe, you know, and it was.
So you think we still have it? We still have the vibe. We still have the feel.
Yeah. No, I have not seen that. You know, I remember when the first normal person came to our town. Her name was Doris Brombaur. Did you know Doris?
I don't think I did.
She's Austrian, and she was I don't know when she came here, maybe 2000 or whatever. And I said, you're the first normal person that's moved to this town. And now there's a lot more, right?
Hey, did she?
Yeah, I think you're one of them.
Did she agree with you?
She would agree with me. I'm sure. Yeah, I think I even told her that one time, and she's like, "You're right. You guys are a bunch of freaks." But no, I remember her being our first normal person to come to this town. And what's going on now? Yeah, you got all these nice, beautiful schools, like amazing. If I had kids, I'd be like, "This is the place to grow up."
That's interesting, huh? The schools really set a tone for this place, and it really kind of flipped this place around.
Yeah, big time. And so you have all these families, and so I'm not so connected to the family world, right? Because I don't have kids,
right.
But I appreciate it, and everybody seems to be cool that I've met, and there's a few, like I said, there's more normal people in this town, but I don't think they're here all year round. If they were all here all year round, they'd probably start to go a little wacky, right?
Yeah, I know. I start going a little crazy. I didn't leave.
I've got to get out of this town like every 45 days. I'm like, where am I going, man? Like, but
so you figured it out. So I could learn from that.
I've cried leaving Nosara, and I've cried coming here. You know, it's a beautiful place to stay, and it's a beautiful place to leave. But I'm calling it my home. This is my town. Yeah. And there's an energy here, right? And I think there's a vortex, just like there is in Sedona, Arizona. There's this energy stuff that happens here. I think karma is more alive here. I think prayers are answered a little quicker, sometimes instantaneously. But I think there's some really good energy, special energy here, for sure.
So many people have said the exact same thing.
I know.
So many.
I know. And there's these weird things that happen too. Like, you know, it's not very often like your third grade teacher walks into your office and you're like, what? You know, and you meet these
You just read my mind. That was the point.
There's all these different connections that happen here that is uncanny.
What I was going to say to you earlier was I've had so many people who lived right beside someone for years or a period of their life, and they met here. And it turns out they were just neighbors, like in Manhattan. I mean, Alice was in here, and one of her best friends here lived across the street, but they never knew each other when they were back in the city. When I first got here, my first year, I was standing on the beach, and someone looked vaguely familiar. It was my neighbor from Florida from a long time ago. It happens all the time.
I just had this woman and this kid were up in my hotel, and my manager's showing me around, whatever. And I just got up to say hi or whatever, and she looks at me and she goes, "You used to be married to Zoe." Like we went to these hot springs in Utah, and it's just amazing.
15 years ago.
Yeah, like amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't know how to quantify it, but there does seem to be something to that whole energy. It's mumbo jumbo, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, it's not mumbo jumbo. It's real, and I've seen it before here too. And I've seen people go against Nosara. Like, this town teaches you patience, right? And if you got to go get a gallon of paint at the hardware store and it takes you 3 hours, you're probably going to see, if you don't fight it, you're going to see your neighbor that you needed that information. And this happens all the time. When you go with the flow in Nosara, you run into people that you should see, and the timing's all right. But once you go against that grain, good luck, because this town I've seen chew up and spit out so many people. I had 5 cars. I had people give me their cars at one point. And I was at my house and I had 5 cars in my driveway. All the people that were like, "I'm done with Nosara." And I was like, wow, it chewed up and spit out all these people. And I could give so many examples of that. But so if you're going to come here, patience. And I'm a list guy, and I have 10 lists on 10 things on my list at least every day. If I get 2 or 3 of them done, I'm stoked.
That was successful.
I'm stoked. And that's, you just don't to be overly aggressive here, because we're not meant to be that way. And I think Nosara kind of puts us back in our good Costa Rican pace, right? Our Tico time and all that stuff.
Eric gave me a good quote a long time ago. He said, the harder you push on Nosara, the harder it seems to push back.
Exactly. So don't rock the boat. You know,
my number one rule of living here, and I tell people this every day, is just don't make sense. Don't have a need to make sense. If you have to follow a linear pattern and everything has to add up and something gets out of whack, it's kind of like, wait, hold on. No, it needs to be like this. That's the person who's going to get chewed up and spit out of this place. They're not going to make it.
I used to give that speech when I would sell people property here. I would say that some things don't make sense here. Some people did, yeah, but it's like don't try to make too much sense, and don't ask the question why too much, because there's no answer to it. Like just
the answer comes through the process.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. The answer comes through the process. But that's good advice, and it's true. It's real here. For sure. And that's not too many other places or whatever. But yeah, just take everything in stride, and you see how we live in this blue zone where a big part of that is people don't do stress, and they're smiling and laughing. It's a very fun-loving culture here, and this for me in this country, I know this country very well. And this is the best gringo-tico relationship of any town that I know of.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it still is.
Hey, what do you attribute that to?
I have no idea. The energy here, perhaps. I don't know. And plus, the expat community has always been so cool. Why not like them? I mean, it's like...
There's a gentler side to the expats who are here than what you normally see out there in the rest of the world, as I'd call it. And I'm wondering if there's some commonality of people are looking for a peaceful kind of roll with the punches type of place, even if they're not naturally built that way.
This is kind of how I sum up Nosara too. Like, if you can't handle ants in your tea, you shouldn't live here. You really shouldn't live here. This is not for you. This is Judy Kinnear used to have this macrame sign that said jungles of woman's places in the jungle or something like that. But she lived it, So yeah, I want to tell you a story about Olga's real quick. My first meal in Nosara. Okay, this is a good one. I rolled up to Olga's with Kim, and back then I ate meat, and I ordered an arroz con pollo, and Olga was this big woman, and it was her daughter Olguita taking my order, and she goes, no, there's no chicken, and then her mom comes out and she said, "CI," and she clocked this chicken over the head with a rock, and I had my arroz con pollo 45 minutes later. That was my first meal here, so things were a little bit more rustic back then, and cool, and then. John Fraser too, what a character, right? And I love that guy, and I have more respect for him than a lot of people in this town. The hardest working guy I know, and the best stories I've ever heard in my life.
Do you think you could get him to come on here?
No, but I could try. I could try. That would be cool to hear him, but I seriously doubt that.
People.
That would be a funny, interesting. Yeah. Let me ask him. Let me see where we get with that. Into that. But I can already tell you that's probably a no. I'll be very surprised if we get John Fraser in here.
But man, that's part of why I'm having all you guys in. You guys are legends, and your stories need to be heard. And a lot of people can benefit, and people want to hear. Some of our
stories need to be heard, and some don't. Let's not get Interpol back.
Okay, good qualification statement there.
But he's got, there used to be the Villaggio was this casino in Garza that was full gangsterville. That guy was an art thief, a professional art thief, and he stole art from the Vatican, and the Vatican sent a hitman, came in on a boat, and he shot the hitman. He killed him, and then gave the guard $5,000 to take a bullet in his knee and say that he shot the hitman. So, and that was these were all, I'm not even going to go into that whole crew, but that's the Villaggio. And you used to come here and see the signs Villaggio is love, but that was a full-on gangster little paradise and diamond smugglers. And that's when I first got here. That was just kind of fading out. But that was Wild West stuff, man.
Cheeky relayed that to me once. He said, listen, Rich, a lot of the people who came here were guys who were inside of that whole Iran-Contra stuff back in Nicaragua. And Nosara was kind of like the getaway.
There was a burger shop at the end of the runway that I don't even think had a fence around it back then. It was, dirt and everything. And they... I can't remember their names, man, but they had a whole slew of AK-47s. You could go right in back there and shoot them and everything. And so there was that crazy element. And these were CIA guns that didn't make it to Nicaragua or something. The first magazine that came out, do you know the first way that this place was advertised for property?
I thought it was
Soldier of Fortune magazine, dude.
Yep.
That's the first. That was Alan Hutchison did that. But either way, it was him or what's the guy that started Century 21? I think it was Jim Rodigan that used to put properties for sale in Soldier of Fortune magazine. I just think that's a weird touch, right?
That is weird.
And so we did have,
especially by today's standards.
Yeah, most people that when I came here though, the older retired people came here because of the golf course that was supposed to be built, right? And so a lot of the houses that I resold when I first had my real estate business were people that were like, okay, there's not going to be a golf course here, but that's cool that we have the green areas now, right? So
shout out to everyone who made that happen.
Anyways, yeah. And as far as all the changes and everything going, I saw it was happening a little too rapidly in 2008, and then the market dropped, and I was kind of glad to see that because it was getting kind of crazy. And I just hope there's enough clean water for everybody and this and that. We'll see what the growing pains involve. I know there's a lot of construction. I'm kind of glad I'm not in this area down here because all the construction and everything. But like I said, I think that our percentage of people that are good people, and I always I met some new guy yesterday. I like these people.
You still feel it? You like the people coming in?
I haven't really seen anything. It's such a weird town too. Like one day you'll go to the supermarket and there's Mel Gibson, Madonna, and Lady Gaga in this little tiny shack, and you're like, what's it's a weird little place to live, really. And
hey, why do celebrities come here and like the way they do? That's kind of weird.
Well, I think that is a kind of a spawn off of the Nosara Yoga Institute. That kind of, and then we got Susan Sarandon in here. Danny DeVito used to come here. I had a beer once with George Harrison, really depressed guy at the time. Anyways.
Yeah, he went through it.
I got a funny story with Roberto Stoll and Woody Harrelson. Okay, so we're sitting at the Bobby Johnson's old house became
Giordano.
Giordano Tropical, which is now El Local.
Yep, the gardens.
But when it's Giordano Tropical, and this guy Johnny from Italy used to run it, and he used to play some inappropriate things on the TV as kids would come in and stuff. But anyways, we were watching a movie in there one night, me and Roberto, and Woody Harrelson comes in, and he changed the channel. We were watching a movie, and Roberto's like, "Hey, man, like I used to." What did he say? He goes, "I used to like Cheers until Coach died." Just funny stuff like that, because that's the cool thing about celebrities here, because nobody cares that they're a celebrity. I think they like coming here because nobody cares who you are.
I think that's it. I think,
and it's one of those places where they can come and not have people awing over them, and I just had some very famous Hollywood people at my place too, and it's like, and he was like, "You know why I like you?" He's like, "You never looked at one of my movies and you never took a picture of me, And I was like, yeah, because I don't care about that stuff, man. And I don't think anybody else here really does either.
Right.
So I think that's why they come here. Maybe I don't know. But yeah,
seems to make sense. That's what I've always cared. Because whenever it's, hey, did you see so and so? Christian Bale was here. It's like, I don't give two craps. I don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. So I think that's why they come here. It's because they can be unnoticed and go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like when I grew up, I'd kind of like to be able to get just outside of the melee. Like right now, I still have to work inside the machine, so Nosara beats me down pretty good. You know what I mean? Like you found your spot on the mountain just outside of it. You come into town, you kind of do your thing, and you go back to your peaceful place. I'm a little jealous of that. And some of you guys have pulled that off. Sam, who, did 5 with 6, he kind of has his thing. he sits over there, you know, and you kind of have your thing over there. And I cannot tell you how badly I look forward to the day where I don't have to be in the machine per se, and I can work on what I want to work on as opposed to what I have to work
center
on.
Going.
That's the dream. That's actually a big purpose of this podcast, actually, was all the boards and all the things I've been on since I got here, how ineffective we solve a lot of our stuff. We have the same arguments. Like every 90 days, we recycle the same arguments with the same things being said. And I've been watching this for 10 years. It's like, I'm going to do an electronic platform, and I'm just going to get the source of whatever said issue is, and I'm just going to ask them questions. And we'll just start right there, and people can hear it, and then we'll at least have a foundation of truth, and then we can advance the conversations from there, and maybe one day we actually can solve some stuff. And my goal with the community center is, I'm gonna get plastered after I say this, but I'm gonna say it nonetheless. I actually think we do a pretty good job with trees and animals, and I feel like we do a pretty good job. I don't know any place in the world that has more concentrated focus on the environment from an expat community coming in that cares about it than here. I'm sure it's out there, I just don't know about it. But here's what I am saying. I still feel the chasm between the gringo populace and the tico populace is there. It's palpable, and if we've went from an agricultural society into a tourism-based society, but we don't empower the people from said location with the knowledge to succeed in this new version, I think we're effing up, man. I do. Yeah. I feel pretty passionate about that. And being president of the security board for so long has kind of convinced me of that. And it's like, all right, what can we do? You know, imagine you mentioned this one time, and I was thrilled to hear it. What if we had a location where we could do kind of like the TED Talks, or you have something up at
Tony Talks.
The Tony Talks. Well, what if we think how many people come through who are all kinds of professionals? We have amazing people who come through here. Maybe what if they could come in and just for an hour or two stop in and just share their deal?
That's what we need. That's just what I'm talking about. And these big circles we get together, and like we were just talking about a greenhouse, and there's 50 people, 2 hydrologists and everything. And now I've got this idea for a greenhouse. So more minds are better. So and even Yoga Mark over here, he's going to start a podcast thing, and it's the coolest thing ever because he's reaching out to teenagers. But what he's telling them, and he's going around to people like us and saying, what are the things that you would have liked to have heard when you were that age? And so we're giving him this information. Brilliant. He's passing it on to them. And that's never a platform that I've heard of happening. And that's cool. I like that. And that's what these talks are all about too, is getting information out there and consolidating it and having unity and feel of community, right?
Right.
So
that's it. There's so much knowledge that's here right now. And when we say give, people think money automatically. Time and just a couple moments with someone and show them that you really care. Maybe you're wealthy and you're from Manhattan, but you can still share a moment with someone who maybe has nothing. It doesn't. We have so many. What a strata. We have so many layers to our existences these days. And I'd kind of like to pull the curtain back and just be like, hey, we all just are. Congregate, let's share. Okay, you understand financial services. That's great. Well, guess what? Around here, the kids don't. No one even knows what compound interest is. Yeah, I didn't even know till I was in my 20s.
Take their ice cream and lick half of it and give it back to them.
But if somebody could come through and if they could get language skills, like I said, I'd like to blend the populace. If have a spot where the gringos and the kids that are coming in have a place where they can hang out and have an authentic relationship with Tico children, and vice versa, and not have the walls between us. We could teach martial arts. We could teach sports. We could teach education. We could teach all of these wonderful things. We could teach music. We could have art in Guanacaste. Like there's a lot of things that we could do, and we already have the people coming through town an hour or two here or there. I'm positive that people would be thrilled to come in for an hour or two on their trip. And I'd like to get that landing spot. And I'm trying to transition from real estate to that.
Maybe until we get a community center. And we can use that one in town too. We can use my place, but let's get this together and start organizing.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I really do.
I'm all
from the bottom
about
of my heart.
I think that's all about it. And we'll get about, in my 29 years too, I think it's important to talk about the one the only time that I was felt really discouraged and not so good about things in this town was when they built the cement dike, right? Oh, that put a spike through my heart when they were digging out the riverbed and we had this.
And you go by there every day too, so you're staring.
Yeah,
at it
and when they were building that, I was here for the flood of '98, and I saw they were building it below the level that the water was, and I just knew it was a joke. And of course, I go to the two Tico guys that are kind of in charge of it in town, and they're like, we're doing it, da da da. And then it happened, and then to see it flood, and but anyways, the only thing that made my head right was a tree planting that I think Bobby Johnson was there, Christoph, and all these people, and that's the only
still
thing
have pictures of that
helped. Yeah, you were there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that made me feel better. But I think and I noticed all these trees on the beach. Somebody's doing a good job. Like I've kind of taken myself back from the community, but somebody's doing a good job. I think you're one of them.
Well, Gerardo deserves the credit for that. I'm just someone who supports him.
Yeah, no, I like seeing that stuff. It's cool stuff, and
I just want to take some of that energy and direct it also into people. Like right now, there's a community center, quote unquote, that's being talked about. I even volunteered to be on the board. I'm all for it. But no offense to turtles, trees, monkeys, anything. They're all wonderful. But we need to get to people. We need to get to the people.
That's what we need to do. I just got 200 pamphlets on glyphosate too in Spanish. I'm going to give these to all my neighbors and everybody in town too, with it, because we have a problem with pesticides in this country. We have one of the highest rates of stomach cancer, and it's directly related to these pesticides. So, yeah, get anything that we can do to talk about at these meetings with people too, and education on trash or whatever it may be. Yeah, I'm tired of picking up plastic. Like, why do we use plastic? And Coca-Cola was here, and we used to have there used to be no trash. And then they went from bottles to plastic, and that was it, So anyways, but solutions, what about having our own water company in town too? Now, me and John Fraser got the best water in town out there, and I'm not opposed to my brother-in-law, who's my best friend, my ex-brother-in-law. He wants to start a water company. We just might do this. And all with bottles, all being recycled, so you don't see this plastic as much anymore. So really, we can add some organic. I found an organic flavoring chemist too, so water can be flavored too. So, anyways. But I think these community talks are absolutely vital, and I'm all about it.
All right. So to be continued. We'll talk about that more later. Absolutely. Thank you in advance.
Yeah. If we want to touch on the roads for 5 seconds too,
let's do
it. Whatever's happening, let it run to the very end. And if you're still not getting progress, then come talk to me, because I got the perfect solution. And all that is us. I'll buy 50 pizzas. We need to block these roads until we get some action, and that will happen. Look what Issei does when they protest. They shut down the city, they get what they want. We shut down the roads, we're going to get what we want. But I think everything else until then is kind of a joke and whatever. So what do? You make a lemonade with lemons, right? So I'm just going to get a really good four-wheel drive vehicle, and I'm pro pothole, I think, never mind. I'm not even going to go into that.
No, subject. I got you. On the road. So I've done a couple road podcasts, and the whole thing's a joke, as everyone would imagine. But the committee, what they're saying right now is they have the verbal assurance that it's going to move forward. And they said if we were to protest or block anything now, it wouldn't have the desired effect. They said let them screw us over again, then take further measures like road blockages and that type of thing. I'm just passing along what they told me.
That whole road thing has caused nothing but emotional constipation for me, so I really don't give a poop. That's how I feel about the road.
All right, well, I'm going to quote you. I'm going to bring up something you told me one of the first times I met you. And the thing you told me was, Rich, they don't need to do the road from Samurai to here. They need to do it from Garsda to Nosara. You're the first person who ever told me that. And I was like, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, because otherwise it's going to bring in the riffraff. This will keep just us here, and we'll be and that's what they should do. But that's the logical thing, and
that's breaking rule number 1, making sense of stuff.
That's right. Why don't they do it? Because it makes sense. So it's cool. Let's just have fun with it. The dust though is like
the dust is atrocious.
It's atrocious, and it needs to be addressed. If it wasn't a health issue for the kids, I would just laugh about it more. But something really needs to be done. Whatever that may be.
Nosara's growth has brought the dust, and I catch flack online whenever I talk about it's time to pave the road, we need it. People are like, oh, you white guy going in there and messing up the place. It's like, no, this is really...
No, we had, even 2 years ago, I remember there was a car count of 800 cars passing Cafe de Paris every day. That's a constant, how
many houses, people walking, Ticos on bikes. I mean, it's hurting the Ticos more than anyone. It's hurting everyone. But in particular, this is hurting the Ticos. And I don't think your average visitor maybe doesn't fully understand that.
Well, I think that eventually it'll come down to the point where it's like, okay, let's do the roadblock thing because nothing else is working.
I wouldn't be surprised. I hope it doesn't.
Let whatever's happening now, let it go to the very end, and it will, and we'll see what happens. And if there's no results, then I'll buy pizzas for everybody, and that's how make fun of it. Have a little bonfire in the middle of the road, and sorry guys, nobody's coming or leaving. I think everybody's going to be like okay with it. Again,
I hope it doesn't go there. I guess knock on some wood. We'll see.
Yeah, but maybe if it does, let's make it fun.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Now that I gotta be careful. I normally don't share any of my opinions on here, and I'm starting to. So I'm starting to come out of the closet a little bit with what I actually think.
Everybody's entitled to your opinion, right?
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's go back to you. I want to find out what your Nosara. Quickly tell me your likes. We already know most of the likes, and people already know that. I want to know your main dislikes, if you can quickly summarize those for me.
I think this, dislikes is like how much you pay for groceries here. I used to live in Pavones for a little bit, and I could go to the border little supermarket there, and one cart is $100. Here it's $300. Yeah. So this is, without a doubt, the most expensive town in this country. We all know that, and the real estate Richter stuff. But so yeah, that's one of my little pet peeves about this place. What I don't like
the road and pricing. Those are good ones.
Yeah, actually the road doesn't bother me. The dike bothers me. Rich, I don't have any complaints. I really don't. I have no complaints. Dislikes. No, I don't. I don't have any dislikes or any complaints, Rich.
Nice. All right. So what's our future? What do you see happening here over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
Well, I don't want to see the chains coming in too. And I heard this rumor that Fresh Market's going to be here. Ghouli's son, who's got his own little development thing happening over there. I don't want to see those things here. Moose Money or whatever. Moose
Money just launched in Aaron Alley's. I was shocked.
Yeah, and that's a chain, right? So what are we doing here? In
Aaron Alley's, I was shocked.
I don't. Well, I'll tell you what. One of my pet peeves is cell phones, but everybody uses them. But I remember my first time when I saw a cell phone in Nosara. It was I came around a corner and it was somebody on a horse, and they were on a cell. And I was like, the first time I saw one in this town, I was like, oh no, there goes Nosara. But whatever, I still don't do cell phones or anything, but they're another pet peeve of mine for sure. I hope we don't go to 5G here. I'll tell you what my pet peeve is now, and this is you're gonna agree with me on this. This country, the reason why I got into real estate, whatever here, I bought my ranch and it was like putting a penny in a gumball machine and getting a piece of gum. Now that there's there's these taxes, capital gains, all these. It seems like every month, and there's like crushing the middle class, and it's like it's hard for me to run a hotel with all these new laws and new regulations. And what's going on here? Costa Rica, you're getting ready for this globalization thing coming on, and that's a little bit worrisome to me. I don't like to see all that stuff because I always been a person to avoid all that stuff.
Right, and now I got to get legal. Down pretty hard.
Is that what I got to do? That's what my lawyer says. Anyways, so that's a new thing for me is seeing all these new regulations and stuff that next thing there's going to be inheritance tax probably. And when are we going to see the first person in this country go to jail for tax evasion? That's coming, right? Haven't seen that before, but we're going to see it now. And this transparency thing is like, anyways, it used to be fun. I used to have armored cars deliver cash to my clients. You can't do that anymore, So yeah, a little different now.
Yeah, for sure. So as far as our future, though, you see it kind of trending like it is. Do you see another big recession bust kind of thing on the corner to slow it down?
I do. I think we're going to see that again. I think we're going to see that, and I think we're going to see it probably fairly soon. So batten up the hatches, Again, that's why I have a garden. That's why I'm trying to stay away from debt and be sustainable. I think is the way to be, and I can always turn my hotel into a house, I guess.
Right.
But I don't know. But I'm going to take it all as a positive thing and make lemonade out of it, right? So
it's the best thing you can do. It seems like debt is the killer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like when people are burdened by debt,
yeah,
you're in a stranglehold. Then we have a downturn. You can't service your debt. Then big source of misery is debt.
It does a little jingle on your freedom, doesn't it?
Big time. I've been in that. My background in the States was lending and in real estate, and I worked for like a mid-sized developer. But everything you borrowed and leveraged something to get something. The whole system was that.
Yeah.
And that's what caused so many of us so much pain.
Yeah.
Was that debt. If you didn't have the debt, you could have made it through okay. Yeah. Now, again, that also is part of why I want to get back, not to recycle the community center idea, but right now, there's very limited education. The second, like, I don't know how many people I've hired or worked with, and the second money comes in from a lot of the populace here, it's spent. That's into a bike or a car or a camera.
I've been employing people here for 20 some years, and they usually my construction guys probably have their paycheck spent by Friday night.
Right. So that's super alarming. And now, I mean, when we do the Mercy Homes, which I think you're familiar with, but it was like our ripoff of Habitat for Humanity kind of. And I say it's for the people kind of behind the trees. You know, the people who just come and visit and stay in Guiones or Pilata, they don't know what's going on back there. But there might be a 18-year-old mother who has 3 kids already, and the father's now absent and a surf instructor running around with some tourist chick on his bike chasing like the gringo lifestyle while that family's still back there. And that's who we're building homes for. But in so many of these homes, you go and see the satellite dish or the washing machine they just got from Goyo on credit, and they pay a small payment for the rest of their lives. Like the financial literacy is very, very low. And if we're going through the ups and downs, which is what economies do, they go up, they go down. It's not the same.
Yeah. Come to think of it, I don't remember learning that in my school growing up either. Which
that's what I'm saying. I didn't understand compound interest until I was in my 20s.
They don't want you to know about the Federal Reserve and how money works. They don't want you to know, right?
Oh, and the whole.
But I think you got a good point. I think that's very important. That's education that needs to be brought to the community for sure.
It is. Yeah. No, it's gotten pretty expensive in the prime locations of, obviously, in Guiones and Las Huacas, and even Pilata's kind of turned around. But the reality is you can drive 10 minutes any direction and still find a lot of space, and price points drop drastically.
I go to a beach every day. I call it Naked Beach. There's nobody there. And that still exists here, and I think that's pretty cool. And I know a lot of good new projects that are coming into this town that are completely amazing. A meditation center.
Nice.
That's on my ranch, so I'm stoked on that. And I'll plug too. I don't think I told anybody that I'm the owner of Costa Rica Yoga Spa along with my parents, but we've been number 1 on TripAdvisor ever since we opened. I'm pretty proud of that. Out of 24 or whatever hotels, and we're good at hospitality up there on the mountain. But anyways, there's my selfless plug.
Well, your success is coming from, I would think, your authenticity. You're living this. You've experienced it. You've had a big change. You were this type of guy, then you became this other type of guy. And it's from direct personal experience, and I think that conveys. Because when I first got here, I was told to be very scared of you, stay away from you, very volatile, ready to fight, might shoot me, all these things. So I was like, who's this big guy, bad guy coming to get me? I didn't know from anything. And then in the relationship, within a matter of just a couple meetings, the passion for healing came out. And you told me your story about when you got sick, and you said one of the first things they told you to do, I think it was go eat beef liver or something. There was some sort of moment where you, like, it was everything in your life was backwards of what.
It was really very strange what the illness left me with. Yeah.
So, and you had told me you had just went vegan or vegetarian, and here your person's like, go get. Was it beef?
It was liver. It was beef liver. Yeah. And that was, I was getting tired and everything, and there were some vitamins and stuff in there that I needed, and I would eat it and feel great. But it's not something that I enjoy. But you were like this, I'm just saying the dichotomy, the ball of contradictions through you transitioning into where you're at now is very, very interesting. Well, we were all kind of pirates here because you had to be. So, and we are also keepers of our own law. And I'd like to, I played karma police because you kind of have to here. I don't do that anymore.
You called yourself a karmic enforcer.
Yeah, karma police is what we used to call it. And that's what you would have to do because nobody else is going to do it for you. And so, being raised here for like 10 years, being your own lawman and being young and stuff like that. We're trying to help out other people if they're getting stuff stolen on the beach. You got to go confront these people, and you should probably do it with a bat in your hand. You're going to have a little bit more intimidation and results. But anyways, not that I'm a very nonviolent, nice person. It's just that I was a pirate at one time.
That's what I'm saying. Like the pirate. There's another book like transitioning from piracy.
I wasn't the only one, though. I was not the only one. No, I think everybody in this town.
It might be a fun episode one day is getting Italia Mario and you together.
That would be fun. We had some good times, me and that guy. And we used to go to the fiestas way back in the day, too, and put on some of our music. And it's such a funny, contrastic time. He was my best friend for years. Still is. He just got married and had a kid.
Didn't see that coming.
He would be a good person to talk to about how it used to be. And Ghoulie, too, at the Tropicana, with her cigars. And she is such an icon and wonderful person. And tons of characters here.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Tons of stories, for sure.
All right, so in no particular order, what are your 3 favorite restaurants around here? And what do you generally like to get?
Where I have my business meetings is La Luna, because you can't really pass up the scenery around there. I'm a Rancho Tico guy, man. That's my closest place to my place. The family is my dear friends.
What do you get? What do you get at La Luna and Rancho Tico? What are your staples?
I don't have any particular things
all over the place.
I really like. Yeah, I like the fish tacos at El Chivo too. But
that's a pretty good one. So La Luna,
I tell you the truth,
Chivo.
I like my restaurant is the best restaurant place I eat in this town. I must say that and it's not really open to the public or whatever, but I have my best meals at my place. Yeah.
Actually, when you guys had us up, that was actually a really good experience.
Now, you got to remember that 70% of people's impression of your place is the food, right? So you got to make that the best you can, right? And everything else is just
interesting.
Yeah.
All right, but we have to disqualify your restaurant out of here. So Luna, Tico, and Chivo, those are good.
You know what? The tuna polk at Organico is, I think I'm addicted to that stuff, man. I probably go there 2, 3, 4 times a week and get that. That's amazing.
So to have something kind of fast here, that's kind of a nice convenience.
What's that?
To have something like that's fast.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I don't go out much, but those are my 3 places I go to. I stay in my little zone. I don't go too much into this side of town, but there's good restaurants all over.
I get you.
And I think there's some new ones too that are going to be up and coming that are very, very good too.
We have no shortage of restaurants, that's for sure.
No, yeah.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, it's kind of interesting to me. Pilata, just in the past couple of years, just caught up to kind of where it was in 2006 and 7. Did you notice that? What I mean is, like in 6, 7, you kind of had like the Red Lion, and there was a whole buzz around Pilata, and then after the crash, around 8, 9, 10, Pilata dropped like a rock. And then we had the annotations that all came through and kind of sat over the area.
I was one of those, yeah.
Yeah, and so Pilata, I've always kind of felt, it's like, man, this place just can't catch a break. And then it's kind of coming back. Now you have Chivo, which has been an anchor, and then La Bodega. Shout out to those guys. La Luna stepped it up in quality huge a little while back.
Now the Hotel Nosara is open too, which is great. Breakfast place too.
Olga's open consistently. It's starting, and there's some new construction happening. But I always found that interesting. A beach with that much beauty. A couple beaches, really, if you think about it, it's not just the place right in front of Olga's. You have the whole scene, beach, and I always wondered why that never caught, because I have to sell real estate for my normal job, which is just the way it goes. But
it's catching now.
It used to be like you'd have to beg someone to consider Pilata, and it's now changing a bit, because a lot of the people who come in aren't diehard surfers, or they're not diehard yogis, and Gillies has gotten so expensive, the spillover effect is getting rolling.
Yeah,
but you've seen it. You were here before all of this got going. And I was told a long time ago that Pilata was supposed to be like the prime showcase back in the day with the golf course because of the river mouth in North Pilata. Is that true?
There was a lot more houses there. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. The Beverly Kitson was out there. And my first place I stayed was A section too, up on the hill there.
So it is true. But for me, I didn't get here till 2009. So I was like, well, no one wants that. But people told me like, no, when this all started, it wasn't around surf and the Yoga Institute wasn't here.
Yeah.
So it was thinking the natural beauty of there would catch.
I'm just amazed at all the changes. And you just have to go, there's nothing you can do to stop it, but there's things we can do to make it better. And that's by giving back, right?
Yeah,
so
that's it.
I'm all about that.
I'd like to hope that we start pulling more walls down. Like when you first got into real estate, there wasn't really anyone doing it. And then more people started doing it. And then it kind of, now you have 4 or 5 companies, and sometimes the town goes from as little as 20 realtors up to 60 or 70, which is probably where we're at now. I mean, who the heck knows? Right? It's crazy. But that's the same thing that happened during the ups and downs of cycles. Things get popular, everyone comes in, and you have all these restaurants, you have all these realtors, you have all these surf instructors, yoga instructors. Just go down the list. This is common. This is just basic economics in a marketplace. But in Nosara, where we're at now, because of the schools, we have so many families coming in, and it's bringing in these really, really high level folks, and they have money. And a lot of the people who have money, they're a little bit more, I don't want to say immune, but they're a little more impervious to the ups and downs of the marketplace. So what's going to be interesting is in our next down cycle, how does Nosara come out of it? Like what's it going to be? Are we still going to have these higher end families coming in and laying the base? And Nosara is really not going to go through the massive ups and downs, or is it going to get affected like a standard tourist town? So I imagine we'll be finding out here sooner rather than later, I would think. But I'm excited to see how that story plays out.
We'll see. I think it's coming. So we'll see what's going on.
Well, if we can pull the walls down between the different companies, like it used to be, you bought real estate through one company, you met their attorneys and you met their people and you found their gardeners and you kind of stayed there. Or you had this one surf school and you kind of hung in their thing, or their one yoga setup and you kind of people kind of stayed in their lane. And we still have a little bit of that today. But what I'm hoping is we can march towards the community centers and we can pull the walls down. It's like, hey, it's 2019. There's a lot of good. There's a great deal more good that we can do, in my opinion, by communicating and kind of having an open marketplace, as opposed to the old, they're with that side, so don't talk to them. Like I'm excited for those days to go away.
Well, let's start with the community circle, maybe once every 2 weeks or something, with that topic for that meeting. And if that topic interests you, then you go. And if it doesn't, then you can maybe stay home. But I think that's important to keep that flow going and keep that idea alive, because I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, man, I get chills talking about that stuff. So seriously, thank you.
Yeah, and you're good at this, so keep us coming in and giving some information and all that.
I wish I could find a way to make a living so I didn't have to do my normal day job at the same level. I really enjoy this, and I feel like I can make a bigger difference through this format than all the meetings I've ever went to all put together. Like I think we're onto something. I hope it resonates. I hope people dig it.
Yeah, we'll keep. We got tons of interesting people in this town with really good ideas and good things to say. So I keep it up.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on. Before we go, do you have anything you'd like to get out there while you have this platform?
Yeah, just, slow down, smile, and relax. It's not a competition. We're in here and enjoy what you do, and enjoy this lovely place we live, because I've searched a lot of this world, and there's not much better than Nosara. So I think we're all very fortunate, and we should have a lot of gratitude for being here, and the people are awesome. All of them. Every single one of them.
Right on, man. Thanks for coming on.
Okay, Rich. Thanks, man. Cheers, man.